Hey, welcome back, Adrenaline Junkies. This is West Coast Paul here on Styling Radio, and you're listening to Pure Adrenaline. I'm here in the booth with my co-host, Izzy. Hey, what up, Izzy?
Hey, what's up? What's up, guys? So, yeah, we're still here. It's 10 o'clock. Maybe you know where your kids are. Maybe you don't.
Maybe. I know where mine are, and they're not at home. And you know what? That's the best thing. But
if you're like if you're like any of these new school parents, as we call them, you probably don't give a fuck where your kids are. They're probably over at the grandmother's.
Well, either that or they'll live in your basement till they're 50 and you die and think they're going to get the house. So, concerts.
Moving right along.
Moving right along is the concerts. I saw released a bunch of names of people who are concert doing some things coming up this year. Old guys, new guys, geezer tours, wannabe tours. There's all kinds of stuff. I mentioned a few like Las Vegas. There's residency tours. And I go, of course, I'm gonna start this one. I'm gonna go on a way back thing. Some of you, if you're old enough, you'll have recognized some of these names. But Sammy Hagar, by the way, is going on tour, and he's gonna have a residency in Vegas. Believe it or not, it's pretty badass. And I was trying to find out, where he is. But it's not just Sammy. If you guys are familiar with certain names in the industry, I don't know, Izzy, do you know the name Michael Anthony?
Yeah.
He of oh my God, I'll get that one. Sammy's band that he played with, Van Halen. Michael Anthony was, right, he was Van Halen. You've got Kenny Aronoff. I don't know if you're familiar with that name, but he at one time was the best drummer in the world, and he played for John Mellencamp. So these are guys, obviously they've been around, that they're putting together some of the best names or best musicians. Because Anthony is great. Aronoff is great. I was trying to find this damn Sammy thing again, because the other name on here too is nuts. And I'm going, when you can get a band that has four of the world's best musicians. Now I realize that combined age is somewhere right up in there with, a billion years. But these guys are still pretty good. I don't know how Sammy can sing anymore. It might suck. But, he's 70-something. The lead guitar player on this one is Joe Satriani. And, he had a couple of albums out way back when. He's the one that taught Kirk Hammett of Metallica how to play the guitar at the level he does now. Hammett was on Metallica, and he went on every Saturday for a millennium and sat with Satriani, and he taught him how to play. So if you think of great players being taught by better guys, this one, when you got Anthony Satriani, Aronoff playing with Sammy Hagar, that is unbelievable. And Sammy's tour goes from January in April through April, and the residency in Vegas is from April into May. And so, that's one that's going, wow, unbelievable. But I just saw that one. I wasn't aware that they were doing it. And anytime, you get a group of geezers of rock type thing, and they can play together, if they're any good, my God, you'll never see better guys. But some other events this year, you got Charlie XCX's, the Brat Arena Tour. So that one's coming out this year. That's April through June, cruising around doing some things. Coldplay is going to be doing their world tour, and it's the initial is May through September. Let me see, Gracie Abrams, Secret of Us Deluxe tour. That's running March through August. Justin Timberlake, he's running in January through July. And let's see, Katy Perry, Lupa, there's more. Maroon 5, I talked about them. They have their Las Vegas residency at the Sphere, and that's one, I realize they're not moving around, but anybody who's in Vegas, I know next time I'm there, and it's going to be a bit, boy, I hope I can see them. New Kids is going to be there. Same thing at the Sphere. There were some others. There's a thing, System of a Down, which is going to have Korn, Avenged Sevenfold, and the Deftones on select dates in August through September. And again, that's more of probably a group thing of them out traveling. Linkin Park is out this year, and they're going to have Queens of the Stone Age, Spirit Box, some others with them, Gene Dawson and others as their opening bands as they do it. And that's April through September. There's some good ones. Of course, Metallica's out. And as you mentioned before, opening bands in some of their dates, Limp Bizkit will be opening for them. Ice Nine Kills, Pantera, and Suicidal Tendencies. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Suicidal Tendencies is a good group.
They're a great group. Unbelievable. And again, they're opening for one of the biggest mega bands ever. And now I'm gonna digress a little bit to the last segment into this one before I go. In Metallica, in 1991, we mentioned the Motley Crue album. Metallica, that's when they released the Black Album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 91, it was right there. It was incredible. And that was an album that a friend of mine, he was a Metallica worshiper, and he hated everything about that album because they really toned it down. They went from the songs, Battery and all these others that they did that were really, really hard and thrash, and Enter Sandman is not. And a lot of the others, they really toned it. And he hated it. I loved the album. It got at that point for me to really appreciate Metallica. And his biggest reason why he said he hated it is he'd never be able to go to a concert again. And I'm like, well, what? Huh? Who, what? He goes, that album's going to make them one of the biggest bands ever, and I'll never be able to afford a ticket. And I got to tell you something, that he was right. He absolutely right. That album, the people said that asked Lars, their drummer, you guys sold out. And he goes, yes, we now sell out every night. So I got no complaints on that album because it turned, so millions and millions of people into appreciating even their old music. Let's see, you got Ghost. They're going to be out April through August. What do we got? Kerry King of Slayer, featuring some other things, is playing. There's just there's a lot of concert stuff where, people get together and do group events because they're hoping to make draws if there's 3 or 4 bands or names or things, Obviously, there's a couple of the other Geezers tours. You got AC/DC is out, and their opening band is Pretty Reckless. That's who's opening for them during their stuff in April through and in May, what they've got. And the Eagles are going to be at the Las Vegas Sphere. That's the coming up in through now April. They're now, they'll be playing. Dead and Company is going to be at the Sphere, but Ringo Starr is going to be there, and then Billy Joel. I mean, there's a lot of oldies out there, and again, the older ones are the ones playing the damn huge events. So I'm, I kind of want to see some of the, lesser bands not have to play at, with 50 other people at Coachella, or do it. But you know what? I said, well, I'm off of that. We'll get there. It's going to happen at some point. It's just, maybe not today or next week, but when you mentioned the new music that, coming out, today's pop bands are not keeping up, what we mentioned before, with country and in hip hop and some of the others who have, morphed into better, different sounds today and newer music that, hey, I appreciate and what they got going on. It's like a lot of these garage bands play folky stuff, and they kind of have their personality of that. And or if they do a thrash type thing, or they're really high energy, the audience is not near what it was because they can't. A lot of people, they're not going to listen to it. And you know what, kids are like mine. Anything that I liked initially, if they're kids, they screw your parents. They're going to like something different. And so they'll go to country and hip hop or some of the Japanese stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff. And in the end, I'll hop in their car, and there's AC/DC or which in our house is worshipped by all of us, or even some of the newer '90s bands, things guys that came in. I mean, Nickelback is one of the most popular things with me and any of the kids. So, but they tend to be more bands like that. A lot of the folksy ones, kind of, they'll be listened to, but believe it, they'll turn on either, like I said, country, believe it or not, that really is popular here, and or some of the other, far, far harder thrash stuff, because it's different than anything else being played. So, and that's where a lot of the music we got here, the 90s and the 2000s is great music. I obviously will date back a little bit. And again, the 80s bands, guys, they're the ones that still dominated the 90s and the 2000s. It's just they weren't invented back then. Some of them that came in, like Jane's Addiction, I'm tired of them breaking up and getting back together. And, at Soundgarden, we talked to them, and there's all of these bands, and I'm looking forward to the next advent in music to bring back some of the stuff where people just aren't remaking everything and making it their own. As much as I love Nickelback's Devil Went Down to Georgia, that's still a Charlie Daniels song going back 30 years. But I realize that a lot of music is remakes. I really do. And if they can put a new, sound to something that was old, I get it. And I like it. I mean, we do movies. There's a shitload of movies out there that are remakes that people may or may not even know about. But I'm looking for something.
There's
different.
A fuck ton of remakes of the movies. It's like the writers have ran out of shit to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not talking just about stupid shit like Spider-Man. There's like 19 different Spider-Man things because they know. But I'm talking, a movie made in the 70s and, and The Longest Yard. I mean, the other day I was looking on TV and I think I saw a dozen of them that are out in the last 3 years that were all movies made, within the last 30 years. They just redid them. And I see why they get away with it there, because technology and CG has made it to where they can do so many things that are different and better. I understand it, and they can turn a movie, that it's pretty cool. Some of it, I'm going, the original was way better, but hey, I said most of the movies, you're right. Seems today I'm looking, going remake. Hell, even Top Gun. Half the movie was rehashing the old movie.
Yeah, right? But the new Top Gun was pretty good. Maverick was pretty good.
I loved it. I loved it.
It was I'm curious of what they're going to do with Days of Thunder. I am curious about that. But yes. Here's the other thing. When we're talking remakes, Gone in 60 Seconds, as we all know with Nicolas Cage, is not the first fucking Gone in 60 Seconds.
Correct.
But everybody thinks, Gone in 60 Seconds, Nicolas Cage. No. But they're making a new version of it. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? The original one, who was in the original one?
I can't think of it. I'll get
big actor. Fucking, I can't think of it either. But anyway, let's go to The Longest Yard. Okay?
Yes.
Everybody's like, the one with Nelly and Adam Sandler. That's a remake of the one with Burt Reynolds. But see, what I liked what they did with The Longest Yard is it was kind of part two, because it was the same shit, but it was kind of everybody. You can take it your own way of how you looked at it, but it was kind of part two because he never did get out of jail, and now he's the old man, and Adam Sandler's the young guy.
Yes.
So when you're in jail, that same shit's going to happen probably every year. There's going to be a football game, or we're going to go against the guards every 5 years. But it made a good movie. But, I don't know, man. I mean, there's some I can just trash talk the fuck out of, like the all-female version of Ghostbusters. That fucking sucked.
Oh, yeah. God, don't make me puke.
I mean, they did a bunch of fucking remakes of all women. I'm sorry, listeners, and you'll probably agree. And if you don't agree, it's your opinion. It's a free world. The only remake with all women, in my personal opinion, and I'm not being sexist, was the Oceans. When they did the Oceans, whatever number it was was all girls, and at the very end, come to find out it was the sister. That made a good movie, you know? And it was a pretty good movie. It was a whole bunch of female actors that they put together in same plot as Oceans, but come to find out at the very end, you find out it's the sister. So, I mean, that leads it into the next chapter. Is the sister going to be in the new movie? Is this, and this? And that's what makes it fun. But some of this shit, we're going to go back into the music, but man, there's some of this stuff that's like, you've taken it way too fucking far. And it's like with TV shows. Well, Amazon and Hulu's buying up all the TV shows, you know? I mean, Cobra Kai was really good. It started off on YouTube, and then it went to Hulu for a year, and then Netflix bought it, and then it's all right, but now they're in their final chapter of it. But they're going to bring back the Golden Girls. God damn it, it's Facts of Life.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
You know, how... Maybe you can make a new version of Facts of Life, but you got to be very careful with it because that's a classic TV show.
Yeah. And, you know, now and then they do a movie where it has the same title and there's somewhat of a same storyline, but it's a different movie and equally just as good. I think of the movie Total Recall, the original one, 1990, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sharon Stone, and you know, Mars stuff and what they did. Well, then in 2012, they remade it, Total Recall, with Colin Farrell and Kate Beckinsale. And I'm going, but it was a completely different backdrop. You know, the Earth had issues and what they didn't have. And it had the same premise, but it was a different movie. And, you know, a lot of people, I'm going, well, that was technically a remake, but it was, you know, kind of a, like you said, a part two. I mean, it wasn't.
Well, it's kind of like a lot of people seeing the new Roadhouse movie.
Yeah.
I personally thought it was pretty cool. It wasn't exactly a part two. I like how they paid respect to the first movie, like the grocery store was the Double Deuce Groceries, you know? There was a lot of Easter eggs in it, and that made it cool. But then, like, the Karate Kid with Will Smith's kid, that fucking sucked. And then they remade Annie, and that... I'm not going to get into the whole thing, because we got to really get back into the music, guys, but... Listeners, I'm watching the instant chat, and you guys are blowing it up. No, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like, why take a classic and screw it up? You know? And it's just like, I'll leave you on this. Everybody saw Trailer Park Boys and the movies and the TV shows. That was banned in the United States until, I don't know, 10 years ago. That's one of the funniest TV shows out there. But it was banned because of the censorship. And I watched a documentary that they did this. They weren't on Howard Stern. They were on another Canadian radio station. And the network signed a deal with them, and they wanted to fire them, but they couldn't get out of their contract, and it had the worst ratings ever. They couldn't even sell commercials. The actors that played the fucking roles, Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles, they were selling their own commercials. But here's the thing, Bubbles, which is Mike, which is the writer, producer, everything, he got to the point, he's like, well, fuck it, you're locked in with us for so many episodes, you fucking do it. Either regardless, you're going to pay us. They couldn't cancel them. And it's just like with South Park. Same way South Park is trying to get out of their contract with Comedy Central because they are locked into so many episodes. At the end, it says, please write Comedy Central and please have us canceled. That's pretty funny. So, but on that note, guys, we're going right back into music. This is Pure Adrenaline.
West Coast Paul out.